morning, Inkies. I hope you are well. Today's video is a little bit more laid back. I won't be working in my journals today because I just need a little bit of a creative break from creating. And when I am feeling like this, I normally turn to books. And I've had a couple of questions recently in the last couple of months about my favorite creative books. Now, I've shown books before and I've shown my whole collection of art books, but I thought I'd sit down and show you some of the books that I go to in order to get my creative juices flowing again. I have some that are new, I have some that are old, I have some that I go to for different reasons. So I thought I'd just sit down with my cup of tea and chat you through some of those books, because I have sat here for at least half an hour trying to get the motivation to create something, but I think my brain is just tired. It's been a really big week work-wise, and so my creative juices are just a little bit worn down. So I thought that I would do what I would normally do on a weekend or when I'm feeling just creatively exhausted, is to turn to inspiration. Now, I normally don't turn to the internet for inspiration because I try so hard to be myself and to be original and try and not get influenced by too many, because it's so easy to get influenced by other people outside, and I've worked so hard to get my style to a certain point that I try really hard to stay away from gathering inspiration from other people more online than anything, because it's just really easy to fall into that trap. And so I try by looking at the books that I own. I have quite an extensive creative library because I put a big emphasis on creative books as something to feed the soul, especially creatively. And so I have a plethora of different types of books. I have things that I go to for inspiration. I have things that I go to for learning. I have things that I go to for mixing, so to speak. And I've also got just a few bits and bobs. Obviously, there is a huge range. There's actually quite a few children's books in here as well. I would love to illustrate a children's book. It's one of my goals. One of my lifetime goals, not in the near future goals. I know that's not going to happen for a really, really long time. I've always wanted to illustrate a children's book. Even in high school, I said one day I'm going to write and illustrate my own children's book. But I do collect them because I find them super inspiring, and to see how people are doing it at the moment, and there are some beautiful children's books on the market at the moment. I spend a lot of my time in the children's book section when we visit the Japanese bookstore on the weekend. So I'm going to move these babies out of the way for now. So if you want to create in your journal while I'm chatting about books, you are more than welcome to. I know it's easier to just listen than it is to you can look up every now and again, but I'm not going to talk heaps and heaps and heaps because I already feel that my voice may go. But I actually will start with the children's books that I've got, mainly because I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Yeah, there's 4 of them. Let me double check. Yep. 4 children's books that I'm loving at the moment and that I flick through often, that I go to for just inspiration. And I've talked about one of these artists before on my channel in Patreon, and I may have even shown some of these books, but I thought that I would just show you them again, mainly because they are some of the things that I walk towards when I'm feeling in a slump. I may go look at a color palette, I may go look at textures, that sort of thing, when it comes to just getting really rutty. And so I'm trying to give you some of the things that I do to get out of a rut, and because I have to be creative on command, I have to scramble to get out of a rut quickly, because this is my job. I need to be performing creatively every single day. I've got Patreon, I've got Spellbinders, I've got American Crafts, I've got YouTube, so I need to be trying to keep my cogs going 24/7. And sometimes you just need a little bit of a spark starter, and I turn to books a lot of the time. And a lot of the time on a weekend when I should be down timing, I will sit in bed with a cup of tea in the morning with a pile of books next to me and just flick. And it doesn't have to be for any reason. It's just to take something into my brain that's physical. It's not on the internet. It's not on a screen. I always will sit with my books it's not every weekend, I can't say, because some weekends are just way too busy, but I do try and do it at least 3 times a month. at least. And sometimes I have books everywhere. I have them in my studio, I have some in my lounge room, some on my coffee table. I have a bed head that is actually a shelf, and I have piles of books there. I've got books very close by at all times because I truly believe they're a great teaching source and a great thing to have on hand when you're feeling a bit I don't know what to create. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. I literally said that to John this morning when I woke up. I'm like, oh, I don't feel like creating today. Like I really don't feel it. And so I thought, why not take you through something that I do to get out of the rut, and then maybe I can show you in another video how I've taken inspiration from a book and how I've applied it into my art journal. So let me take a sip of my tea, move my tea to the side, and grab the children's books. I've mentioned David Litchfield in Patreon before. I know I have, because I somehow got through that rabbit trail of YouTube where I ended up on TED Talks, and one of the TED Talks was by David Litchfield. And it's not a very long one, but oh my goodness, did it hit home. And I became obsessed with his work after that. And so I actually bought 2 of his books, Granddad's Secret Giant and The Bear and the Piano. And I actually bought The Bear and the Piano for my nephew for his very first birthday present. So his mum's very musical, so I bought him a copy. And so this, actually I'll go with The Bear Piano first because that's the one that I loved the most. I loved his use, I don't know why my covers aren't in. I love his use of texture. And I was obsessed with wanting to look at it up close and personal. I actually made a special trip into the city to hunt this book down so I could visually see it. I'd seen pictures on the internet, but I wanted to see it and touch it and look at it with my own eyes up close where I could just take it in. I couldn't tell if it was traditional art or if it was digital art, or whether it's a mixture of the two. And it is a mixture of the two. And I wanted to know, like, I wanted to see it with my eyes to try and pick it apart. I couldn't find anywhere on the internet except for little bits and pieces here in interviews on how his process was, because I loved the effect that he had with all the textures, and like this looks like actual bark and like little spots, and the way he captured light in the forest. I was obsessed, and I still am. Looking at just this page, these spread alone, instantly my heart starts pumping a little bit faster. I just loved the artwork and the way he conveyed emotion and feeling in these 2 pages alone. And this is like the end papers. So I was like, I need this book. I need this book. I love everything that this man does. He's made he's done quite a few books. This one's actually by him. So illustrated and written by him. He does work with a lot of authors and creates the illustrations for other kids' books, but everything about it. I loved the way he did the bear fur. I love the whole thing. And I flicked through this book probably the most because I love the texture of the plants and the hand-drawn elements, and the fact that he makes washes and things. I think there's an ocean theme in here as well. Not just here, but there's like a proper one. And I was just obsessed by it. I loved his use of like scribbles that are on here. Like, oh, I just love it. If you cannot hear it in my voice, believe me, this book makes me so excited. And it was one of the reasons why I tried starting to work with digital work and traditional work, because I was so, I don't know why, but I was so against them coming together. And then I would look at his work and go, well, if he can make it still look beautiful, like it still looks as if it was traditional, but I now know that there is an elements of digital in there. If he can still do that, then why can't I? Like, why am I holding back so much? The color palette, maybe it's in the giant one with the water. Must be. Like, it's just so beautiful. Everything about it. And he's using the same textures, the same color palette, everything. Those little leaves and things I know are just hand-drawn digitally in there. But nothing beats the end papers, man. Nothing. I would want that as a screensaver on my computer. I just love it. Maybe I should make it a screensaver. So maybe the water is in here. because I know there's waves and things. And see, you've gone from a really warm look to a really cool look with all the houses, and just the level of detail with these little trees are very similar to the little leaves in the other one. He has a definite style, and I love all of it. I love all of it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, actually, no, you can tell that I look at this a lot because it flicks right to it. I loved the whole look of using digital elements and digital brushes to totally, that would all be done, all this would be done digitally. But I know that he makes washes and textures and takes photographs and then uses those to base his illustrations, like pulls them in. That's the only thing I could find out about him. Like, I was obsessed. I was single white femaling this man to find out what his process was, because I loved the effect and the overall look of his work. And I will definitely read these books to my grandchildren. I've read them countless times. Oh, the patchwork. I love it all. I absolutely adore it all. And I love the little neighborhood and the little trees. Oh, this is just going to be a whole heap of me gushing, because David Litchfield, oh, #1 fan, man. #1 fan. Now, the other one that I love, and these two books are by the same artist as well, is Isabel Arsenault. And this book was actually introduced to me by Fran Nerd. She mentioned this on her channel years ago now. And I'd always thought, oh yeah, I'll get it. And I never did. And then recently, probably in the last 6 months, I actually picked this book up. And I love it. I actually had a blog post with photographs of all these for the blog, and I may very well still put that up, because I think people need to look at beautiful children's books. And this was one of the things that I absolutely just totally felt like that could be it, any one of us. Like, I feel that so much. This is about a girl getting bullied, and it's about her her reality and reading a book. It's just beautiful. I love the graphite texture. I love the whole feel of it. It just looks like a sketchbook, basically. It looks like a sketchbook. It was Jane Eyre. That's what she was reading. Sorry. It's been a while since I've read through this one. And like, this just makes my heart hurt. Like, I was this kid. I was bullied in primary school for being the fat kid. So I was this kid. And it broke my heart to see images like this. But it also just made me want to do better and educate my kids more, and sort of give them an emotional armor so that they don't get as broken down as I did in primary school. And so this deals with her own insecurities and how she feels. And oh, it's just, oh, I'm her. I'm literally her. So just flicking through this book puts a lump in my throat, because I identify so heavily with like trying on swimsuits, man, and feeling like a fat sausage. That's like my life in a nutshell. I think that's like every woman's feeling, unless you're a supermodel. Oh, it makes me sad. It makes me sad. But I guess that's the point of a beautiful book. It will get you on another level. And I just want to hug her. I love this book. I love everything about it. There's no color. Well, I shouldn't say there's no color. It's very monotone. It's got like grays, blacks, and cream, and that's it. There is literally no color in this book. Oh, except for when the fox comes. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that when she starts to find herself, and when she starts to feel like she isn't alone, is when the color starts to sort of jump into the pages. And I have always said that about John. I have always said that John put color in my world. He helped not put color, he helped bring back the color in my world, because I was living a very grey and sad and sorry existence, and I was trying very, very hard to claw out of a depression and to be there for my kids once I walked out of my abusive marriage. and I was struggling to keep myself together for my Teacup Humans. So this definitely just resonates so highly with me, and it is a beautiful, beautiful book. I love it so much, so much. And I loved this one so much that I went looking for other books that were illustrated by her. And this one's called Cloth Lullaby, The Woven Life of Louise. I want to say Bourgeois, but I'm not quite sure. So this is the words written by Amy Novosky, but the pictures are by Isabel Arsenault, which is the illustrator of this one. And this is stunning. Everything about it is stunning. It's like a sketchbook, and I love books that look almost like a sketchbook. And the florals and the blues, this color palette, when I first got this in the mail, I was obsessed with the color palette, and I wanted to use those colors everywhere because I loved how it looked. I loved everything. Louise kept diaries of her days, and in a cloth tent pitched in the garden, she and her siblings would stay till dark surprised them. The light from the house and the sound of the Verdi opera far away through the trees. Sometimes they'd spent the night, and Louise would study the webs of stars, imagine her place in the universe, and weep, then fall asleep to the rhythmic rock and murmur of the river water. There is so many beautiful moments in this book. It is just stunning. And when it came in the mail, I waited and waited and waited until my kids had gone to bed and my husband was busy, and I sat with a cup of tea and I just took it all in. I took every part of it in. The words were beautiful. It's like almost like a biography of this woman. I love it. I love it. Everything about it was so beautifully worded. It was just, it's like, he brought back cloth scraps from his travels, and Louise's mother fixed them. Two halves of cloth would find their way back together again. I just love it. I love everything about it. I want all the things. She drew, she painted, she wove. She missed her mother so much. She sculpted giant spiders made of bronze, steel, and marble, and she named Mamam. Her mother was not unlike a spider, a repairer of broken things. If you bash into the web of a spider, she doesn't get mad. She weaves and she repairs it. I highly recommend collecting children's books because they make us whole. Must be one of those days for emotions. Okay, now that I feel like I've gotten over my little emotional mental breakdown over children's books, it must be just how I'm feeling, a little bit tired and a little bit emotional. So even a children's book that I adore and love completely breaks me down instantly. Rereading the pages, looking at all the pictures, it's just a very heart opening moment. I know that sounds silly, and I feel like I feel silly getting teary over children's books, especially, you know, I'm a full-grown adult, but art and writing and the right words can just tear anyone down, regardless of how strong and how guarded people are. I really feel that art and words combined perfectly and beautifully can just shatter you, regardless of who you are or who you pretend to be. And I wear my heart on my sleeve, man. You can tell by my voice. You may not be able to see my face, but you can tell by my voice when something affects me. And I can hear it when I get that lump in my throat, and those children's books just do it for me. So I'm going to talk through some of my more artistic books that are done by artists that you're probably here for, and you're like, yeah, we've done the children's books, let's get to the real stuff. But I really highly suggest looking through children's books for color palette inspiration, texture inspiration, showing how to get emotions out of your characters and things like that. That's one thing I struggle with when creating characters is to get the right emotion across, and it's something that I want to continue to build. Children's books are fantastic for that because they need to convey their emotion on their faces to children. Children need to know, oh, that character's sad or that character's angry, so they have to do that in one image. So it's a really great way to look at those things to try and gain insight into how you can apply that to your own characters and your own faces and all that sort of thing. This one was a hit, 150 color mixing recipes. I remember when I picked this up, this is for oil, acrylic and watercolor. And I can't remember if it was really hard to find. I know some inkies found it, but it was a really good source for color mixing and showing you how to mix colors and things like that, like recipe. It's almost like it's essentially a recipe book. And I always pick it up when I am like trying to, I don't pick it up and go, well, I'm gonna make this color, but I glean help from it when I'm trying to get a certain color and I can't work out how to get it. So this has got like cobalt blue, alizarin crimson and permanent rose, and then it shows you like 2 drops of cobalt blue, water level 2, so adding more water, less water, all that sort of stuff. It is fantastic to sort of help you get an idea about what kind of color you can reach. There's skin tone recipes in here. So you've got Caucasian light tones, cool tones, Asian tones, Latino tones, Middle Eastern, Native American, black warm, black cool, eyes, all that sort of thing. So this has been a fantastic book that I just pick up and look at. It also really helps with like color palette choices, like seeing colors next to each other, all that sort of thing. Did I put the other color book in this pile? No, I have another color book that is also a favorite, but I didn't want to talk for too long. So this is probably my favorite one when it comes to color mixing and things like that, because I still feel very newbie-ish when it comes to color mixing. I will try and link as many of these down below as I can, if I can find them for you. I don't have affiliate links, I'm too lazy for that, but I will try and find them. A lot of the times I will link Book Depository because it's where I buy my books from. Shipping's free regardless of where you are in the world, and I know that the Aussies and pretty much everyone can shop there. Well, not everyone can shop on Amazon, like us poor pathetic Aussies who just got shut down from Amazon. So if I can find them, I'll link them for you if you're interested. But yeah, this one is fabulous for, I use it more for watercolor than anything else. Because I don't really mix acrylics, I don't really paint with acrylics very often. So I just use this for basically watercolor mixing, even when I'm looking at like acrylic mixes. So it's got intensity recipes, value recipes, shows you the colors that you've used to get to these. It's just a fantastic resource. And I picked this up in Newtown, Art on King. It was about $25, which is pretty good for an actual bricks and mortar bookstore. But I will try and find it. I feel like this one was really hard to find. From memory, when I talked about it like a couple of years ago, like a year and a half ago when I first picked it up. So I will do my best to find it for you if you're interested in color mixing or if you want to do that. So I've got a few artsy books that I go to and flick through for inspiration, especially when I am feeling like I'm doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I will look through books that are completely opposite to my style, and Misty Morn is one of those amazing artists, and I have a feeling this book may also be hard to find because I feel like my mum tried to find it one day because I had always had it in my pile. It was always something that I flicked through all the time. And this is purely because of the feel of the book, the look of the book, the color palettes of the book, the whole just general feel of it is inspiring to me. I haven't done any of the projects in here, and I don't obviously plan to, but I love the way it looks, and I love that it's like that matte paper. It's just beautiful. I love everything, the photography, you name it. So even though this is like to show you like how to do this and how to do that and this project and this project. No, I just look at it for beautiful things, and beautiful things like onions, man, onions, but it's the look in the sketchbook with the ripped paper, and it's just beautiful. She is a beautiful artist, and I should take one of her classes one day. And then I say that when I've got 50 bajillion. See, like this stuff that just makes my heart explode. I love looking at imperfect things because I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. I actually put pressure on myself to be imperfect. I don't think I could ever paint something that's perfect, but I love her paintings. Even though I don't paint with acrylic and stuff like that, I still adore what she does and how she does it. And sometimes if I was to go in and make a Nook Dweller, I may very well look at her stuff and think, well, maybe I'll try that color palette this time. I've actually never done a grey Nook Dweller. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. This talks about creative layering, still life things, using masks. So like I said, I never have done any of this. Her collages, everything's just beautiful. Gel transfers. I have done a gel transfer, but not because of this book. Stretching out an idea. I love everything about this book. And considering how bright and crazy and beautiful and vibrant and weird and wonderful my artwork is, I am drawn to this stuff. The vintage looking blue based craft stuff, but you don't see me work that style into my journal, but I'm totally enamored by this style. And so I take ideas and color palettes and try and work it into my own style. Paper dolls, and then it's got binding journals and stuff like that, because she makes her own journals and they're beautiful. So it's great for just general inspiration, just everything about it. If I was to write a book, like an art book, it would be set out very much like an art journal. It wouldn't be, I always think about how I would possibly do it. I've never actually done this, but she's got like templates in the back for you to create things. Maybe I should do them out. And the little book plates. And these are to make your own stamps. I love them. Maybe I should put these in my journal. I've had this book for so many years and they're still in the back there hanging out. But yeah, this one is beautiful. Misty Morns Unfurling. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I have 2 by Felix Scheinberger. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. And I've talked about the urban watercolor sketching so many times. I love his style. I love what he does. I've got bookmarks and tabs and things in this book because I love the way he presents his stuff. It is so inspiring, that sketchy watercolor, imperfect, perfect look, which I'm so down for. I picked this up. Out of all my creative books, this one gets the most picking up. And I don't know why, because my style looks nothing like this, but I just love looking at it. And I see something different every single time. Like this is just, I could totally take an idea from just looking at his faces and how he puts things together, and it just makes me want to get my watercolor palette out and start making art. And that's the kind of book you want in your life. They are the books that you want in your life. You want to have these sorts of books that sort of you flick through them and go, right, I'm renewed, I feel better, I'm going to go get my journal, I'm going to go get my sketchbook, I'm going to go start doing collage sheets. This is that book for me. It gets me up off my butt. It makes me sort of feel a bit more energetic and energized, and it makes me go, okay, it's time to start creating now. And this is definitely that magical Mary Poppins moment book for me. And I know that Joy also adores his book as well. Joy loves him. I love him. So when he released his second book, I had to scour. Did I buy it from here, from the Japanese bookstore? No, I think that was sold out of this book. I tried to get it because I was so impatient. That's how you know I really want a book. I'll go to the Japanese bookstore, pay the extra money so I can have it in my hands. But he was all sold out. So let me put my tea down, because this is a hardcover book that doesn't really open flat yet, because I haven't trained it well enough. But these sorts of things just make me want to sketch all the things in my life. I think I look at this and think, oh man, I need to sketch more from life. I need to do more. It makes me want to be more, to try more, to experiment more, to play more. And these are the sorts of books that I like having around, that make me want to be more challenged and make me want to try new things and make me want to just spend more time drawing. They're the kind of things that I tend to gravitate towards, books that challenge me. I don't normally buy a lot of the books that are like step by step by step by step, because I just don't do the steps. But I do love a beautifully illustrated book, and this sort of stuff is like my total jam. I love sketchbooks. I love seeing artist sketchbooks. I love sketchbook flips on YouTube. They're one of my most looked up thing when you in my search bar is sketchbook flips, studio vlogs and sketchbook flips, because I adore watching creatives create. I adore watching a passionate person show you what they're doing, because I always say, I think I've said this recently too, passion begets passion. We love hearing from people that are passionate about what they do, because it then rises a passion within us. And Felix certainly does that with his 2 books. I highly recommend this one. Even though I haven't read all of it, I thumb through this book so often just to feel rejuvenated and energized. So this one's quite new, but I've had this one for quite a while and I love it. You can tell. You can tell when there's bits and pieces in there. Lisa Condon is one of my favorite illustrators. I love her. I've actually just signed up to her like time management class that I decided to do. And I'm halfway through watching that. But this is one of my go-to books for florals. And I've talked about this before. I have quite a few of her how to draw books, and she has those, I think they're on Creative Bug, the classes where she teaches you to draw a different thing each day. But I really love looking at her line work. It simplifies it right down for me and really helps my brain to see patterns in a different way. And I absolutely adore, I don't ever draw in these books, never do, but I do love to have them on hand when I'm thinking about patterns and I'm like, well, I could add in like this sort of floral and tweak it a bit into something that I'm drawing. And it really just helps you see things differently. This one is relatively cheap. I paid $25 in the Japanese bookstore. You can find it cheaper online, but it's great to have as a resource if you want to be drawing flowers or borders or things in your bullet journals and that sort of thing. I just love florals, and I have quite a lot of like floral line work books and floral like actual flower photography books and stuff, because I love how they look and I want to include them in my art as much as possible. So I have inspirational books that do that, but this one was one of the ones that I picked and put into this because it's the one I gravitate towards the most, and it's the most simplified one. So if you're just starting out and you want something that's not too complicated, I've got more complicated ones in my library, but this is a great starting point if you want some inspiration for like adding florals to your illustrations and stuff like that. She's great. I love her. I highly recommend any of the books that she does. I actually have another one, but I think I gifted it to my mum because it was like it had a lot of other things in it, but it was very similar to this, so I gifted it to my mum for her to use, because she's one of those people that thinks too much and so she thinks so much that she doesn't actually do it. Danielle Donaldson, another one of my favorite artists. I grabbed this on a whim from, it must have been Book Depository because it's not from the Japanese bookstore. I love her little quirky style. I love her look of color and how she mixes rainbows and things. And her work at the moment on Instagram is so very different from this, but I am loving the direction she's going. She's like completely changed her color palette from what you see here. This is a step-by-step book, but I bought it because I wanted to support her as an artist, and I really love just looking at her whimsical girls and her pattern work and her like paper patterning and stuff like that. This is why I buy it, not for the step-by-steps, but I buy it for this sort of stuff, to see how she puts things together, her composition, those sorts of things that will help me in my work. I wouldn't try any of this sort of stuff because it's not me, but I really love the look of the sewing and putting papers together, and I can go, okay, I like that idea. Maybe I can try that in my work using a different idea, photographs and stuff like that, which is more up my alley. So I love looking at this sort of stuff, but I didn't buy it because of the step by step by step. I buy it to see how she puts colors together, just general eye candy, more for the finished look than how she got there, because this sort of stuff makes my eyes go, okay. So pattern work, she's obviously used a punched out all different papers and things like that, and then glued them together and made a collage. That could work with, and I've done it before with my hexagon punch. I punched out photographs and made a quilt like thing tip in my journal. So it's very, very similar. And I love that she uses like all the different color palettes, and I've got a few of the classes by her that I haven't actually finished, of course. Story of my life. So all her little doodling and stuff, I love her style. I do love her style, but at the moment her work on Instagram is just stunning. So I'll pop her Instagram link down below, because they are like making me very, very happy. I think I'm going to show you a couple more and then I'm going to stop, because I feel like I've chatted way too much. Let's put this one down. I've got so many books. I need to move some because I'm gonna get an avalanche in a minute. Where's my other Beatrix one? Down here. No, that's not Beatrix Potter. Where is it? Maybe I only put one Beatrix Potter one in here. That's okay. This was actually a gift from Christina because she had purchased 2, and so she sent me her other copy because she's like, I know you love Beatrix Potter, and I do. I really do. She is amazing. I've collected a whole heap of the books that she's had. I've got a lot on her. She's one of my favorite artists, not just because of her little creatures and her characters, but because she is such a talented artist. And I look through her work all the time, and it may be her painted work, and I love that this shows off her other stuff besides her characters, and it shows how very talented she was, like her landscapes and her studies of animals and fungus and stuff like that. I love this book. I have this one on my bedhead because I flick through it a lot, so I've had to collect this off my bedhead, and I have a few of my Beatrix Potter books on my bedhead, but this one is the one that gets the most love, and I read little bits and pieces of it all the time. I don't know what it is about her work, but it just makes me want to be a better artist. And like I said, those are the kind of books I love having around me. It just shows me that I've got so much left to learn, which doesn't daunt me. It excites me that I'm forever learning. Sometimes I have that moment when, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get better. But it's all about practice. We all have those inner critics that are just swarming around our heads. Believe me, I do as well. I have them on loudspeaker 24/7 sometimes, and it's tiring, but we just got to keep chugging through, keep practicing, keep showing up to our sketchbooks and our journals, and keep doing the hard things. So this is one of my absolute favorites. Lily hates this page. She's like, Mum, get off the spider page. So there's those ones. Oh, I love this. I love the bunnies. I love them. I love them. I love them. I thought I had another one of hers in here, but I don't. Just making sure. Now, this one was actually Anae introducing me to this book, and I'm putting it in here because I know a lot of Inkies bought it. A lot, because it's absolutely stunning. It's in a different language, but it is so beautifully illustrated and so whimsical and crazy. And I'm putting this in here now because they have just released, literally in the last week, the English version. So I am going to purchase the English version for myself so I can actually read the story behind these crazy images. I want to know what it says. And I always sit there thinking, oh, I hope one day she releases this in English. Oh God. And so I can see what is going on in this beautiful book. So I will put the link to the English version because I know no one really wants to read it in, I'm not even sure what this is, but I didn't care when she flipped through it on the Facebook group like a year and a half ago now. I was like, I need this book, and I bought it. So beautiful. The eye candy in this is just to die for. You could never take it all in on one read. You would have to read it constantly over and over and over again, and you discover new things every time you looked at it. So I am putting it in here to remind myself that the English version is out, and I need to read it. I just am so enamored by the imagery. It'd be so very interesting to know what the actual storyline is, because the book is so crazy and colorful and bright and wonderful that I need to see. I need to know what it all means. Everything about it is beautiful. Everything, like all of it. I love this book to death, and I flick through it often, and it will be such a joy to actually read the words behind these beautiful images, because I just sit there and go, what could she possibly be writing? And it's a lot of text. So I'm super interested to know what the story is, but I will link the English version down below because it is beautiful and one that I can't wait to have in my collection. When I get the English one, part of me wants to use this as collage fodder, and then part of me thinks that that's blasphemous, but we'll see. It's beautiful nonetheless. I love it. I love it. I'm gonna do three more, but they are all under the same category, and they are Disney books. And I'm gonna do those, and then I'm gonna leave you be for the weekend because I feel like I've talked heaps on books today. So they're not quite Disney books, but they're the art of film books, and I have two Disney ones, and I have the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and they're the only three I have in my collection at the moment. But when I watch a movie and I see it, I want to have it's not always, but there are a few movies that I see and go, I want the art for that book. And the other one is Hotel Transylvania 3. I haven't seen an art book for that one, but oh my goodness, there are so many wonderful, beautiful characters in there, and I want the art of that book. I haven't ever wanted an art of any of the Transylvania ones until movie 3, and I sat there with that grin on my face. And it was the same with this. When I saw this movie, I was walking out of the cinema to the car on my phone ordering the book because I wanted to see the art of this book. And it was more to do with the creatures and the characters and how they were developed, because I was obsessed with how they looked and how they were put together. Let me see if I can find them. Like all the characterizations. Ooh, dropping all my watercolors because this is a much bigger book than all the other ones. This sort of stuff, characters, but the animals, man, the animals got me so hard in that I loved all of it. And like Pickett was so cute. He's in here somewhere. He must be at the start. Like the sketches and everything. I loved all the beasts in this movie, and I wanted to know how the demiguise. I loved him. He reminded me of like a mixture between E.T., a luck dragon, and like there was something else, another thing, a sloth. Like all those three things combined, and you'd get the demiguise. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it so much. I actually am looking for the bobblehead of the demiguise to have. The apes. I love how they were like showing ways in which they put some of these characters together, and how they created their habitats and things, and what they did. This is the sort of stuff that just makes my heart explode. And because creatures are my thing, creatures and monsters and kooky and stuff, that is where my heart just races. And I love I wanted to see what they were thinking when they put these monsters and things together. I just really wanted to know where their inspiration came from, because that sort of stuff, when it comes to creatures, is definitely something that I wanted to know, and I knew it would be in this book, which is why I was like, as soon as I walked out of the cinema, I was like, I need that book. I need to see if they've got a book, and I need to own it. I need to flick through it. I want to see how they've put these creatures together. I need it. And so I bought it. Where is Pickett? He's in here somewhere. Oh, Pickett. I loved it. Oh, the bow truckle. I love it. I love to see how it came to be him. I love it. So as you can see, my want for creative books are so different. Oh, the Niffler. Oh man, love the Niffler. I've almost bought the Niffler in bobblehead form a few times. Like this sort of stuff, this sort of process just makes my heart explode. So that is the art of the film Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And the other one I got and bought was Coco. Oh my goodness, this was such a visually stunning movie. And the characterization, the colors, all of it. And the fact that this is, why is my book ripped? Oh my God, I'm gonna kill Lily. She was the one that had it last. Oh, boo. This is the first kids movie that I've actually seen my husband tear up in, which I was like, man, it's totally gonna have to come home. And this was another one I ordered from the parking lot. And I love the color and the look of it, all of it. That sort of Mexican inspiration, this sort of stuff. Oh my goodness, stop, move. And the beautiful sort of spirit animals in the spirit realm. Oh my goodness, I loved these. These just blew me away. And I know there's, let's see if it shows a shot of the actual world. I love all of this stuff. The costuming, everything. It is just so beautiful. And when I was thinking about the calendar for the Land of the Dead, for this October, I did think of doing a Sugar Skull Nook for the calendar to sort of, oh yeah, this one comes out. It's just so pretty, guys. This may be not everyone's thing, but I'm just sort of showing you where I take my inspiration from and where things that just make my heart explode. And I want to see how things are made, how thought processes are made, and I just want to take all that information in. I want to see how they develop the characters, and I love this sort of stuff. I love seeing how other artists' brain work. Because then it helps me go, okay, well, I never thought to think like that. Maybe I should start taking that on board and thinking in that thought process, and maybe I'll get a different outcome. So, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love everything about it. I like looking at the colors, the facial expressions, all of it. It is just so beautifully done. I love them. Dante. Oh, Dante. He was so cute. Anyway, getting off track as usual. I just want to sit here and look at books because it's the weekend and my brain's tired, and I just want to look at pretty books. This is the first one that I bought because of the sketchbook nature of it. When I actually watch flips of these before I go and purchase them. There's a few YouTubers that actually flick the art of books and the art of film books. So I will go in there and look for their review and look for their flick to see, because sometimes it is a lot cheaper to buy it online than it is to buy it in store at the Japanese bookstore. So I can save, you know, $30 by ordering it online, but then I don't know what it looks like. And so I loved this book because of all the sketchy facial expressions of Rapunzel and the chameleon, Pascal. So damn cute, man. This sort of stuff just it makes my heart explode. Like all the different hair and how they got her hair to where it was. And all her facial expressions. This sketchbook nature was the 90% of the reason why I purchased this book. I loved to see facial expressions. It was something that I was struggling with, and when I haven't actually seen this whole movie all the way through, but man, I wanted the book because of the way it looked and how they put things together. And so a lot of the time I will want the book just to have some eye candy, to see how they take things from concept sketches into full-blown images, where they get their inspiration from, what influenced it, all that sort of stuff. And that just helps with my creative process, especially when I'm trying to create something, or if one day when I finally do start thinking about doing my own book, I will draw on these sorts of skills for myself. So they're a bit obscure, but I wanted to show you where I go to, what I go to when I am feeling creatively spent and just need a pick-me-up, or I need something to sort of really put me back in the mood to create. These are the types of things that I draw on in order to just reignite the flames. And definitely I think the children's books probably did more for my emotional well-being than anything else. And oh, there's my other Beatrix Potter book. It was under the children's books. I had to buy this secondhand. It was really, really hard to get my hands on. It is just filled with beautiful sketches and beautiful studies. Some of the plates are also in that other book, but there was stuff that I hadn't seen before, and it was just so stunning. Like, I just love looking at her little animals, and that just makes my heart, like this sort of stuff. And like this image. The waistcoat and other late 18th century costumes were copied from the originals Victoria at Albert Museum, pen and ink watercolor. So it's like she's going to museums and she's copying things and taking inspiration and stuff that we need to be doing ourselves. Oh, I love her. I love her. I think we'd be BFFs. She'd probably think I'm a crazy as a cut snake, but I feel like she may have been as well. So I love this book. I love all the books, actually. I love that they say what they are. Pen and ink and watercolor. Pen and ink and watercolor. Sepia ink and watercolor. She must have some Boss waterproof ink, is all I can say. Or maybe she paints first and then she inks. I'd love to know. I'd love to know. Pencil and watercolor. Pencil and watercolor. Oh, pigs. Beatrix Potter makes me want to be a better artist. Everything that she does, everything that she represents, I want to be in my own way. I don't want to be her, but I want to take inspiration from her tireless persistence and dedication to her craft. So yeah, she holds a special place in my heart. She's like the drive I want to have forever and a day. All right, my darling Inkies, I think that is enough creative book and creative book chat, and to show you where I go when I need a pick-me-up, or I need to be recharged. I love my children's books probably the most. They're what I go to the most because they are just so visually beautiful. And then I will then go to things like this and things like this. And the color mixing book, actually all of it, they all have their part to play in my creative journey, and where I go to just recharge and rethink and then go, okay, so now it's time. And so a lot of the time I go to these books right before collage sheets, because I think I need that boom, I need the energy to take on another set of collage sheets. So I hope that's helped. I will try and link everything down below for you guys. If you want to see more creative books, I can show you more, but these were the ones that I go to the most, so I wanted to show you my absolute favorites. As you can see, a lot of them are more this type of thing than they are like step-by-step books. I look for patterns and colors and textures than the actual subject matter. I mean, there's quite a few that are on my shelf that I'm looking at now. I said, oh, I could have showed that one, I could have showed that one, I could have showed that one. So if you'd like another one of these, maybe next month or later down the track, let me know. I will chat. I'll happily chat about books. I think they're a huge tool for us artists to have in our lives. I know we get inundated and it's easy to sort of access everything online, but I think there's something about an actual book, having it in your hands and just being alone with it and not having like the outside instant gratification of 100 different artists at your fingertips. I think it's nice to just sit down and take in something like this, getting it up close, feeling it, looking at it, all that sort of thing. I think there's something really magical about that, and I don't think I'll ever change my mind about that. I love my books. They are truly a piece of me. When I bring a book into my life, they become a part of my heart, basically. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Sorry there's no creating today. I really didn't think I could pull something out, especially since I've been creating so much in the last few videos and for Spellbinders and stuff. I think I really needed to just sit down and look at my books and then use it to chat to you about books, because I haven't had a chance to actually look through my books in a few weeks because I've been so busy. So this was very therapeutic for me, and I hope it sort of gave you an insight into where I go when I'm feeling very stuck in a rut, because that was another question. What do I do when I get stuck in a rut? I turn to my books. So have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.